Senator Cole served our country in the United States Army Reserve from 1958 to 1964. Please join me in welcoming Senator Cole.
Thank you very much, and it really is an honor for me to be with you all here today. A while ago, my staff approached me and told me about this great idea that was incubating to help our veterans, and after they got through explaining it to me, it became clear that I should be and would be a very strong supporter of the effort. There were two simple reasons that convinced me that my support would be very well placed. First, the serious need for more kinds of support and assistance that face our returning veterans. And second, the very serious grassroots effort by all of you that was going to ensure that this assistance would become possible. Throughout my time in the Senate, I've never forgotten our collective responsibility to those who have laid their lives on the line to protect our great nation.
Congresswoman Moore has led efforts urging the Army to help reduce the perception that seeking mental health counseling will negatively impact a person's military career and promotion prospects. I also think it's important for everyone to know that Congresswoman Moore has a personal connection to Dry Hooch, as her brother is a Vietnam veteran. Congresswoman Moore.
I really am so happy to be here today to join all of you on this grand opening of Dry Hooch. It's been a long time coming. And I tell you, for many of you, this Dry Hooch venture has been the second call to serve. This time, serving those who've served. And congratulations to all of you for that. With chapters and affiliates opening all over the state and different states all over the country coming to buy into the concept of Dry Hooch, I'm proud to claim the original Dry Hooch from Milwaukee. And I have a little surprise for you, Bob. It's just, it's very little. It's just a little certificate of special congressional recognition that we're going to present to you, Bob, in honor of your dedication, hard work, passion.
Thank you.
For making this happen. I've driven past this street a thousand times and never knew Dry Hooch. This building was here, you know, so this is truly a sanctuary. And I'm really proud to be here today with my colleague, Senator Cole, to open this up and celebrate it. So thank you so much.
Veterans, ladies and gentlemen, Bob Curry.
I wanted to say that Dry Hooch started from a tragedy. You know, we all have tragedies in our lives. I want to tell you about a veteran that I know very well. This individual enlisted at 18 to go to Vietnam. Well, not to go to Vietnam, to go into the service. Ended up in Vietnam. Ended up in I Corps and flew unarmed reconnaissance planes, which kind of, unarmed reconnaissance is kind of like military intelligence. It doesn't make a lot of sense, especially when the enemy finds out. But we flew recon missions through I Corps, North Vietnam, Laos, etc. This individual volunteered to do the Ho Chi Minh Trail at night, flying with the Air Force C-130s to find the trucks coming down the trail. He was later transferred to work with the Hmong, who were our allies in the secret war that nobody knows too much about. And somewhere during that, he was shot down about 400 miles west of Hanoi, landed in a firefight and figured this is the way it was going to end. And it was a group of Hmong roadside watchers who was battling the NVA and lost 4 of their own and rescued this individual. When he came back home, he went through the Seattle airport and he was greeted with eggs and bloody chicken guts. So he stuffed his uniform in the garbage can at the airport and said this never happened. And then he went home and he went back to a family that he tried to understand, married his high school sweetheart, went to college, and went to get on with life and put everything behind him. Worked for great companies like IBM and AT&T, and the war was way past him. The Gulf War broke out, and that individual started getting the flashbacks and the memories and the smells, and nothing made sense anymore, especially because the war had been so far away from him. He started drinking, became an alcoholic, started going in between jobs and just tried to hang on to life. When he wasn't drinking, he was overeating. He went up over 100 pounds over his weight. When the new wars broke out, 9/11 in Iraq, it was off to the races. One night, he was reading a veterans magazine, which he rarely did, and he saw the names of two of his brothers who had been shot down in Laos, whose names now were in his face, whose remains had been found and were coming back. He went into a flashback that night, and he was flying alongside them. When he came 2 hours later, he was in a hospital bandaged up, and two police officers were looking at him. And he asked them, "What are you doing here?" And they said, "Well, the gentleman you killed tonight, you're being charged with homicide by intoxicated use of a motor vehicle." He tried committing suicide in jail that night because now two families had been destroyed, and nothing made sense anymore. Everything he had ever worked for, nothing made sense. He was also mad that he couldn't even do that one correctly. He went to jail, and his daughters and his wife fought valiantly while they were kicked out of their house. Another family was totally devastated by this, and his daughters reached out to veterans who they didn't even know. Reached out to an old buddy of his down in Florida he hadn't seen in 30 years, to Vietnam vets in Milwaukee who never knew him. And together they got him, they raised the bail, got him into the VA for help in a halfway house. During that time they put together what had happened that evening, and the plea was entered of not guilty by reason of insanity, PTSD. A year and a half later he went to trial, and a jury in a little farm community found him not guilty because of his PTSD, the first time in the country. He was sent off to the state mental institutions who wanted nothing to do with PTSD. Their answer was drugs, drugs, and more drugs. In that jail, he found other Vietnam veterans and veterans of other wars who weren't being treated. He went to an alcohol unit where women were suffering from PTSD, from rape and trauma and incest, and they were being taught not to drink, not how to deal with their trauma. Fortunately, he was released and he got back to the community, and he thought, this doesn't even make sense. I shouldn't even be alive. I shouldn't be here. So what does that person do? That person is standing here today. That person is me. So the only thing that made sense was to find my brothers and sisters who had helped me and said, this shit's got to stop. And so we formed Dry Hooch, a place where you can come together and get help, where you can understand, where you're not embarrassed, where you can't tell things to your family, where you don't have to drink, where you can learn to be responsible for your actions. So the only thing that made sense was to do this, so our younger brothers and sisters don't have to go down that path, so their daughters and their wives and their husbands don't have to cry into a corner because they don't know what in the hell is going on. So from all of us, thank you for giving this home to stop those kinds of things from happening, and I thank you all for being here today.